Welcome back to the LeverUp AMA series. I'm Marcus. Perp DEX volume crossed $1 trillion in a single month for the first time this year. That's the headline everyone's repeating. James is here from the LeverUp team, and he's going to tell me why that headline is the least interesting part of the story. James, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, the volume number is real, but it's not the thing worth paying attention to.
Okay, so what is?
Underneath that trillion-dollar month, market share has been moving around a lot. Hyperliquid's generally stayed the largest single venue, but its reported share bounces depending on who's measuring and over what window. And you've had challengers, Aster, Lighter, each grab real share at points this year, then give a lot of it back.
So no one's actually won this yet.
That's the read, and I want to flag up front, these market share numbers vary a lot by data provider and methodology. Anywhere we cite a specific figure in this conversation, treat it as a snapshot, not a settled ranking.
Fair, so let's start with Hyperliquid since it's the reference case. Why did it get as big as it did?
It's built as a purpose-specific L1 with its own on-chain order book, at a time when a lot of Perp DEXs were running on general-purpose chains that couldn't reliably handle order book-style execution when things got busy. The bet was that if you want to compete with centralized perpetuals on execution quality, you need to control the full stack, sequencing, settlement, the order book itself. That's a big part of why it became the largest venue in the category.
And then Aster and Lighter show up and start taking share.
Right, and the pattern repeats. Both gained real share from Hyperliquid at points this year through aggressive execution and incentive design, then gave a lot of it back. The takeaway isn't that Hyperliquid has some permanent lock, and it's not that challengers can't compete. It's that leadership in this category hasn't been sticky. Execution quality keeps being the lever that moves share around.
Okay, here's where I want to push you. Everyone's been talking about market share. What's the thing market share headlines skip over?
There's a structural cost sitting underneath all of it. Across most Perp DEX architectures, some discrete capital layer, LPs, or professional market makers is supplying liquidity and getting compensated for the risk of doing that. The mechanics differ by design, but the pattern's the same. When a trader opens a leveraged position, some capital layer is on the other side of it, and the cost of that layer bearing the risk shows up somewhere in what the trader pays, sometimes explicit, sometimes baked into spread and funding.
Walk me through the two versions of that.
In pooled liquidity designs, this is the most visible one. LPs deposit capital into a shared pool, and pool depth, plus whatever utilization and risk, limits the protocol sets, generally caps how much open interest the protocol can safely support. It's a well-understood model, long production track record.
And the other version.
Market maker network designs. Professional market makers provide continuous two-sided quotes and price discovery, and they manage their own inventory risk through spread, depth, and position limits. That quoting activity is genuinely valuable. It's what makes continuous execution possible at all. But it's not free, and the cost of providing it shows up in the spread and depth a trader actually experiences. There's also a newer variant of this, a single professional operator running a privately priced quoting engine instead of a network of market makers. We did a separate piece on that one called Prop AMM.
So for shorthand, you're calling this whole pattern the LP tax.
Right, and I want to be precise about what that phrase does and doesn't mean. It's not a claim that LP or market maker compensation is unearned. Liquidity provision is a real service, and it's compensated because it's genuinely costly to provide. It's a name for a structural cost that shows up when execution depends on a discrete, separately supplied layer of capital sitting between a trader and settlement.
Okay, so where does Monad fit into this?
Monad targets around 10,000 TPS, block times around 0.4 seconds, sub-second finality through parallel execution. Those specs matter for perps in a few concrete ways. Liquidation timing is one, on a slower chain. A position that breaches its liquidation threshold early in a block might not actually get liquidated until well into the next one. Shorter block intervals shrink that delay, though it also depends on Oracle update frequency and the protocol's own risk controls, not block time alone.
What else?
Oracle freshness. Slower base layers can leave price feeds lagging by multiple blocks during volatility, which opens a window where on-chain pricing diverges from the actual market. A faster base layer narrows that gap, as long as it's paired with Oracle updates that are actually frequent enough to take advantage of it. And third, collateral flexibility at scale. Supporting a lot of different collateral types means revaluing across multiple price feeds constantly. Lower execution costs make that practical at real scale.
So bring this back to LeverUp. What does protocol-managed liquidity actually change here?
LeverUp doesn't route trades through an external LP pool. It uses a protocol-managed virtual liquidity system, the VMMV, where trades reference Pyth pro Oracle pricing, and execution, settlement, and risk management happen at the protocol layer. The practical effect: that execution and settlement responsibility moves from an externally supplied LP pool to the protocol itself, governed by position limits, funding mechanics, and collateral requirements, instead of by how much external capital happened to get deposited.
Does that make the LP tax just disappear?
No, and I want to be straight about that. It doesn't eliminate the structural cost. It relocates where that cost gets managed. Instead of sitting with an external capital layer, it sits inside the protocol's own risk design. Open interest scales with protocol risk parameters instead of with the size of an externally supplied pool. Any collateral adds to this, on Monad specifically, eligible ecosystem tokens can be posted as margin without converting into one designated collateral asset first, which cuts out a conversion step that otherwise costs money and forces you to reduce exposure to something you'd rather keep holding.
Last thing, what's actually unsettled here? What should people be watching?
A few things: whether this leadership rotation between Hyperliquid, Aster, and Lighter keeps happening, or whether one architecture eventually builds an advantage that outlasts pure execution speed. How funding behaves under any collateral-style designs, since diverse collateral pools introduce basis dynamics that don't exist in single collateral systems. And honestly, track record. Pooled liquidity and market maker network models have years of production history behind them. Protocol-managed virtual liquidity architectures are newer, and that's a real thing to weigh if you're evaluating which model to trust with size.
So the honest version of this thesis isn't Monad wins.
No, the honest version is execution infrastructure keeps moving share. There's a structural cost sitting under every model, whether it's visible or not, and a protocol-managed model on a fast chain relocates that cost rather than deleting it. Whether that's a durable advantage or just a different trade-off, that's exactly the kind of question a market that keeps changing leaders hasn't answered yet. Worth watching, not worth declaring closed.
James, appreciate you being straight about what's still open here.
Anytime.